Tonight's EuroBasket didn't just give us a scoreboard. It gave us a flashpoint. Nikola Jokić turned toward the officials in the closing moments, pointed, and lit a match under a conversation that has been simmering since the tournament tipped off. Serbia got the result, but the story the internet wants is the one about the whistle, the glare, and what it says about the best player alive under pressure. Here's the snapback. This isn't an isolated moment. All week, the camera has caught Jokić working the margins, speaking to refs, calling out hand fighting in the post, and living in that gray area every superstar has to manage in knockout basketball. The tape shows skill. The tape also shows friction. When those collide, it creates heat stronger than any highlight. Let's set the table. Serbia opened with a statement win, rolled through their first opponent, and reminded the field that a locked-in Jokić can win games even when he isn't hunting 30 points. He controlled pace. He screamed. He sequenced actions that let everyone eat. That's the on-court answer to every hot take. But the whistle discourse does not care about your ball movement. It cares about the one or two calls that swing possessions when the clock is low and the crowd is loud. If you watched Jokić tonight, you saw the same pattern that has defined his rise. He waits. He reads. He uses an early seal to force the help. If the help arrives high, the corner opens. If the help sits low, the floater or short roll is there. Defenders start grabbing to slow the angles, and that's where the officiating line lives. Was it a hold on the hip or clean chest? Did he dislodge with the off arm, or did the defender flop? One whistle says advantage maintained. Another whistle says turnover. And when those whistles cluster in the final 2 minutes, the temperature spikes. That's why the clip blew up. You don't need a long rant at a presser to make a statement. An 8-second stare can say everything. Jokić isn't a shock jock star. He's a pressure reader. So when he pivots and addresses the crew with both palms out, he's not doing it to trend. He's doing it to say, we're not calling this game in the dark. We're going to clarify how the post is being officiated right now. Stakes first. Serbia is a contender to win the whole tournament. Group results shape the bracket. Minutes get rationed across back-to-backs. And the MVP talk, fair or not, follows the biggest name in the field. If Jokić dominates and Serbia advances, that glow trails into October and November. Voters say they don't carry summer into winter. Fans do. Media cycles do. Tonight's clip will become a reference point the next time a late whistle swings a Nuggets game in January. But let's be fair to the other half of the story. EuroBasket officials are managing an absurd blend of styles in one gym: NBA MVPs, EuroLeague alphas, domestic stars with very different contact norms, and coaches who train their bigs to sell early leverage. It's not easy. Consistency gets tested when you're calibrating in real time. That's the context. And that's why one possession can look like a phantom to one fan base and a textbook foul to another. Back to the floor. Watch how Serbia uses Jokić as a hub, not a hammer. Early horns into a Spain pick and roll, then a slip that invites a switch, then the cut behind ball watchers. Defenses that try to front him need a high side helper ready because the lob is always alive. If the high side helper is late, the pocket pass to the corner stays wide open. The only legal way to slow that train is to meet him early, chest vertical, hands high. Most teams don't have the size or timing to do it without getting whistled. That gap between ideal defense and reality is where frustration grows. The opening game showed a version of that gap. Jokić didn't need to score 30. He operated at cruising speed and still produced double digits in rebounds and assists while Serbia ran away. In a blowout, nobody argues a whistle. Tonight was different. The final margin tightened. The ball found his hands on every critical half-court possession. When a clean catch turns into a struggle for position, you start banking on how a particular crew views hand checks, swim moves, and chicken wings. That uncertainty is gasoline for a post-game flash. And here's another layer. Serbia's bench energy mirrors the leader. Pešić pushes for tempo control and shot quality, then snaps to the table when contact standards wobble. That's not chaos. That's a strategy to protect the structure. If the refs are calling touch fouls in the post, Serbia will tilt toward cutting and skip passes. If they're allowing more grappling, they'll lean into hard seals and second-chance pressure. Either way, Jokić is the metronome. He doesn't need to scream to change a game. He just needs to set the next action a half second sooner than you expect. So what did Jokić actually want from the crew? It looked like clarity, not favoritism. A star of his level gains nothing from random. He thrives on patterns. If a defender can sit on his hip all night, fine, call it that way and he'll counter with pace changes and angle screens. If the ref tightens the standard, fine, he'll bury you at the line and make the defense panic on the catch. The worst world is the coin flip. His gesture said, decide. There's a counter case, and it deserves air. Critics will say Jokic spends too much time working the refs for a player that's skilled. They'll point to sequences where he talks his way through an entire trip. They'll argue this bends the game towards stars and creates a two-tier justice system. That argument always comes back in tournaments like this because the talent gap between the best and the rest is real. When a megastar is on the floor, every close call feels bigger. Here's why that counter case falls short tonight. First, Serbia didn't win because of a free throw parade. They won because of pace control, defensive rotations that took away middle, and a bench that punched above its weight when the starters rested. Second, the clip shows frustration after specific sequences, not a full game tantrum. The working the refs label fits when a player seeks cushion calls. This wasn't that. It was an ask for a standard at the most important time on the most important actions. Mid-video reveal time. Look at the hidden trend from the opener through tonight. It's not Jokic's scoring, it's Serbia's assist rate and the spread of touches. When the ball moves to that degree, you remove the referee from the middle of the play. That's the paradox. The more Serbia leans into its passing identity, the less the whistle matters. But in crunch, actions compress. The game shrinks to 2 or 3 patterns, and those patterns live in the paint. That's where whistles decide destiny. There's also a financial wrinkle here. EuroBasket is a showcase that sells stars to sponsors and networks ahead of domestic seasons. The tournament needs marquee names and knockout rounds. That doesn't mean crews will protect stars. It means every close game with a superstar becomes a stress test for the brand. If you're Jokic, you know your presence moves the needle. If you're a ref, you know every camera is pointed at you when the ball goes to the block with 20 seconds left. Pressure builds on both sides of the whistle. Zoom out to the NBA MVP noise. Voters will say international tournaments don't sway them, and technically they're right. But memory is sticky. If Jokic strings together dominant control, leadership moments, and visible poise under unruly whistles, that story travels. Fans rewatch those clips in December after a weird Tuesday in Charlotte and say, he's still the guy who solved Italy's trap and stared down a road crowd in Riga. Narrative is momentum. Momentum is currency. Back to the nuts and bolts. Serbia's defense mattered as much as anything. They cut off the middle, forced late clock heaves, and controlled the defensive glass. On the other end, Jokic weaponized a short roll and dragged bigs into space. The more the game slowed, the more Serbia's reads separated them. That's where officiating becomes a multiplier. Give Serbia a clear standard, and the reads get sharper. Cloud the calls, and variance creeps in. One more thing fans miss in these arguments. Referees are scouting too. Crews come in with awareness of tendencies. If they've seen Jokic use a subtle swim to create a window, they're looking for the defender's feet and the offensive arm at the same time. If the defender sells the contact with a head snap, crews who hate flopping might swallow the whistle. It's a chess match with 3 teams, the 2 on the court and the 1 in gray. You saw the leadership in how Jokic settled teammates after the dust-up. There's a small moment most people will skip. After he addressed the crew, he motioned to his guard, pointed to the corner, and signaled for a timing tweak. Next possession, Serbia got a cleaner catch in a driving lane. That's how you turn frustration into fuel. You don't spiral. You adjust. What's next? The bracket math is simple. Stack wins, manage minutes, and avoid early foul trouble for the big fella. Watch the first quarter of the next game. If the crew whistles early bumps in the post, Serbia will sprint to split actions and punish rotations with corner threes. If the crew lets contact go, look for deeper seals and high-low feeds. Either way, Jokic puts the stress test on the defense, not the officials. There's another watch list item, referee assignments. Crews change style and emphasis. Some lean toward flow, others emphasize hand checks. If you want to predict Serbia's shot profile, you can start by reading the crew sheet and mapping it to how they called similar games in the first 2 rounds. That's not conspiracy. That's scouting. Teams do it. Fans can too. Let's clear the fog. Jokic didn't lose it. He drew a line. The message wasn't save us. The message was set the bar. That's leadership. It protects his teammates, it clarifies the next 5 possessions, and it pulls the game back into the lane where Serbia wins with structure, not with bailouts. Final thought. The tournament is young, and the pressure is only going up. Tonight's flash will cycle through timelines and argue feeds all night. But inside the film room, this boils down to 2 questions. Can Serbia keep its assist rate high when the game gets ugly? And can Jokic turn whistle noise into tactical edges without losing rhythm? If the answers are yes and yes, then this whole ref's storyline becomes a footnote on the path to a podium. So keep your eyes on 3 things. The first 2 whistles on Jokic in the next game, the guard turnover rate against early pressure, and the shot quality on short clock possessions when defenses load the paint. If those 3 swing Serbia's way, the late game stare from tonight will feel less like rage and more like an early warning that the best player on the floor knew exactly where the real battle would be fought. EuroBasket loves heroes and villains. Sometimes, the villain is the scheme. Sometimes, it's variance. Tonight, the villain was the fog around the whistle. Jokic tore through it, demanded clarity, and then settled the game with reads only he sees. That's the story that matters. Not the noise, the receipts,